What is up, my friends on the internet? Back at it with another video, and on today's episode we are talking about these Gaerne boots, but it is very cold outside and I'm not wearing a jacket, so let's move this party inside, why don't we? I said we're moving inside. What are you doing? Come on, y'all, come on. Okay, here we have the boots, but before we get into the box, I want to kind of explain what led me to wanting these boots. So for that, we got to take a little trip down memory lane of the boots I have worn. So for a long time, I wore these Sidi boots. They are Gore-Tex. They are kind of a mid-height situation. There's Velcro on the side with a zipper closure. Pretty good boot, but the fit was all wrong for me, it turns out. There's two kind of indicators that a boot is fitting you poorly, and it's not just discomfort. There's two physical indicators on the boot, and they are called a blowout. So right here, you can kind of see where that seam is starting to bust a little bit, and that's because the shoe was too narrow for my foot. And you're also gonna see that in the bottom with the spillover that happens right here. If you're wearing a shoe and your foot is all spilling over on that gap there, the shoe is too narrow for you. And the big culprit for these, and the big reason why I stopped wearing them, was the toe box. This toe box is just too narrow for my foot, and for really anybody's foot. Human feet don't come to a point like this, so having a boot that is narrow all the way through and then still comes to a point just really was crowding my toes. I had this kind of situation going on with my toes. And if you think about it, your feet are your support base, and you want to have as much contact with the ground, as much comfort as possible. Imagine doing a push-up like this versus like this, right? One is easier, so your shoe should allow you to have a little bit of splay, if not a lot of bit of splay, so you can have comfort and stability and overall better foot health. This is the insole from my trail running / hiking shoe, and I want to show you how it fits my foot. So when my foot's on it, I have room, right? My toes are spread out. I'm actually still on that. So you can imagine if a shoe was completely covering my foot, it wouldn't be kind of crowding me in like that, right? I have room to move around and fit comfortably on this insole, so I obviously feel comfortable in the shoe. Next up, we have the insole from those Sidi boots that I was wearing. Let's see the difference. You can see here that you can't even see the insole at all. I am completely spilling over. There is no room for my foot. So when I put this boot on, I had to squeeze into it. I had to crush my toes in. Overall, super uncomfortable. If you take your insole out and your foot completely hides it, your boots are too thin. This guy was not for me, which led me to my next purchase. Next up, I had the Alpinestars Speed Flight riding sneaker, and this was honestly a little bit of a hit. I'll get the insole out in a second, but you can see here already that it comes to less of a point, so I was overall more comfortable that way. The shoe has more width in this direction, and you're not seeing those signs of blowout where my foot is just too big for it. There's very little spillover, if any at all. This was a comfortable shoe for me, but the reasons that I kind of started doubting this were, for one, no Gore-Tex, it is not waterproof, and I found myself riding in a lot of rain. As a summer shoe, like a summer good weather shoe, this one was great, but as soon as the weather got a little bit more inclement, I was in the cold, I was in the rain, its shortcomings started to show, as well as a couple just kind of durability issues. This started to peel off there. I'm just seeing wear throughout the boots. In another video, I went over my full gear list, and I kind of mentioned that these boots are really good, but the durability isn't there, and I need something waterproof. But let's get that insole out to show you kind of a better looking fit for me. So here is that. It is very close, you can see, but there's not complete coverage. I can still see insole on either side of my foot. I have a little bit of the toes there. I can't fully get a big splay if I try to stretch out, but I am comfortably splayed right now, and nothing is really colliding. You got a little bit right there, but overall, super comfortable situation. I like these boots as far as their fit, but again, just not right for me as far as bad weather. Okay, so if this insole is my benchmark, my goal should be to find a motorcycle boot that as closely matches this as possible, and that will be pretty difficult for a few different reasons. For something like a running shoe company, their main goal is overall foot health and extending your runs, extending your running career, right? So they fit more of these kind of like foot health niche markets. They're trying to find a product that works for every single person to have an extended run, an extended running career. With motorcycle boots, the goal is to create safety. They want you to have a boot that is going to respond well to an accident. So all of their attention is kind of favoring that. They're putting more armor in, they're putting more protection in. They're not really thinking about overall foot health from the longevity of wearing shoes like this company might be. But still trying to find the boot that is closest to this. Let's just kind of look at these two layered up. I'm going to stack this one on top of that other one as best as I can with one hand, and it will reveal some fit issues. While this boot is comfortable, you can see that the Ultra is going to be wider for me. It's more of a natural foot shape for me, whereas we're going straight here and then arcing around smoothly versus kind of coming to a tapered point. My foot does not naturally come to a tapered point. Most people's don't, unless they've been wearing shoes so long that they're all crushed in like that, right? So the bottom one is a little wider in that pinky area. And generally, you're going to see a more natural foot shape, whereas this comes to a little bit of a point there. You're also going to see kind of arch support issues. That spillover area, something with a big arch support like this might dig into the side of your foot there, causing discomfort, whereas something more generally flat is not going to. But let's move on to the new boots and see how they stack up. So I wanted to combine the pros of both of these boots. I want the waterproofing and the comfort of having Gore-Tex while having the comfort of a boot that actually fits me properly, has enough width, has enough comfort. And that's what led me to the Gaerne boots that we are going to talk about today. This, as the title said, is the Gaerne G-Rocket Gore-Tex riding shoe. Let's crack on into it and see what we got here. That is a really underwhelming reveal. There's no packaging. There they are. Let's just go ahead and get it out. For starters, you are going to see a little bit of a toe taper that I was saying is bad. But the cool thing about this toe taper is it happens really far down in the shoe. The shoe stays wide for a pretty long time versus those Sidi boots that started to narrow out really early, you know? This should give me enough room in the forefoot to have a little bit of splay and some overall comfort. We also got a higher rise boot than the Alpinestars shoe, so I'm going to overall have more coverage and more protection. I'm going to put those two back to back to show you what I mean. You can see from this angle that the Gaerne boot just goes up a good bit higher. While they both have integrated ankle protection, this one extends above the ankle a lot further, which is good for me. With the Alpinestars boots, I would find that my pants sat right on top of them, so that area just above my ankle would be exposed sometimes. So if I were to go sliding, RIP that area, right? This one actually goes high enough to where once you cinch that down, I believe it'll fit up into my pants really well and just create overall more protection and a little bit more weatherproofing. Going up into my pants will mean no water going down into them. Just overall a better fit, a safer fit. The Gaerne boot has a little bit of reflectivity there, which is always good. I like safety, and I really enjoyed the reflectivity on the back of the Sidi boot. So I'm going to line those two up now to show you that difference. So on the Sidi boot, we do have a little bit of reflectivity there, but this is generally more. It's more, if not equal, so I like that. Granted, we do have less height than the Sidi boot, but I think that is going to bring me some of the comfort that I saw with that Alpinestars, where I can keep this boot on off the bike and walk around and be happy and comfortable. We have some of the pros of the Sidi boots. We got our Gore-Tex, obviously it's branded right there. We have a little bit more height, which is good, it's safer. And we have some reflectivity, also safe. But we have that kind of nice sneaker silhouette of the Alpinestars Speedflight with the general all-day comfort, I am assuming, because they are a little bit wider. That taper happens like every boot you're gonna find for the most part, but it happens so late in the forefoot that I don't think it's gonna crush my toes. Overall, decent look, right? It's not the most aggressive boot, so I think I can wear it off the bike and not feel like a ridiculous Power Ranger, you know? At first, I tried a pair of the Gaerne actual motocross boots just because I was like, hey, more safety the better, right? But I didn't find those comfortable at all, so I tried to find something more middle of the road, and I believe this is it. But let's do the width test. Let's get the insole out and see how it fits my foot in particular. We've got the stack test again here. This is the Gaerne insole on top of that Ultra one that I love, and you can see the same truths revealing themselves. Got more pinky room on the Ultra and more big toe area on the Ultra as well. When you flip them over, you see that the Gaerne is actually a little longer, but again, that natural foot shape in the Ultra reigns supreme. But because this one is a little longer and it stays wide so long, I think I'm gonna be okay. I imagine my toe is going to end somewhere around here, so we'll have a little bit of pushing that I wasn't experiencing on the Ultra, but pinky, almost nothing. So I'm not worried about this. I'm a little concerned about this. This is the Gaerne shoe. I have a good bit of room in front of the toe. That's nice. The pinky toe isn't spilling over. The big toe is getting pretty close to some spillover, but it's right on the line. And on the side here, it's going up along my foot, which right now feels fine. We'll see how it feels with the boot actually on. I might find that I have some discomfort there, but one way to find out. The boot is on, and I can say it's honestly pretty comfortable. Like I was saying earlier, the toe box does narrow out, but it narrows out so far down that I'm actually still pretty good. My toe ends right here where it's still pretty wide. My pinky toe has no pressure whatsoever, and overall, good comfort. The one area that I was worried about is the only area where I feel anything. That is the midfoot here. I do think I might have a little bit of spillover, but the area underneath that spillover is pretty soft, so I don't know that it'll be uncomfortable, whereas it's just evidence that the boot is a little too narrow for me. But overall, y'all, I think I'm happy. Let me go ahead and throw the other one on. Both shoes are on, and I gotta say that I think I have a little bit of a width difference in my feet because this left shoe has no spillover whatsoever. It is super comfortable. When looking for a shoe with a nice wide toe box, I realized nobody films or takes pictures of this angle, which really does matter. We should be looking for the widest thing possible to make sure we have that room to splay, like I was saying. Zooming out a little bit, that little green accent is a nice touch. It may be a little loud for some, but it seems so small that you could just Sharpie it out or black it out with whatever paint pen or whatever you have if you really didn't want it. But I kind of dig it. It gives you the brand name without being too flashy. I like the muted gray sole. It should last a while, not get super dirty, but it also gives some like color variance from just an all black boot. And I gotta say that, like, as a dude who really prioritizes comfort in shoes, I think if I were to wear these to work, I might actually be inclined to keep them on. Normally I pack a pair of shoes, but these feel really good to walk around in so far. I got plenty of room. Everything feels comfortable. I like them. So there's a lot to love about these boots. Their styling is pretty good. This strap that's gonna cover up your laces and keep them out the way is really nice. They have a shift pad on the boot, which is mirrored, which I like. Granted, you're not gonna shift with both feet, right? But having it on one boot and not the other just makes for a weird looking pair of shoes. So I'm glad they put it on both and spent the money. You got good safety, you got reflectivity, and I'll flow the price on the screen right here. That price ain't half bad, but there are some cons, and we're gonna get into those next because they do exist. The first con, as you might imagine, is gonna be width. Like I said, on one of the shoes, I have a little bit of midfoot spillover here. It's not bad, it's not uncomfortable, but it does exist. So if I could have a little bit more right there, I'd be happier. And then, as I said, we do have a little bit of a taper in around the big toe, where I would prefer for that to go straight out. This arc for me is perfect and comfortable, but that cut in right there is not my favorite. I wish this came around like that and then cut back. That would make the fit on this boot perfect for me. The second and biggest con for me has to be Gaerne sizing. If you look right there, it says a Euro 46 equals a US 11. And me in particular, the majority of my shoes are Euro shoes because they tend to be the companies that have a stylish option with a wide toe box. So on all of their sizing charts, I am a Euro 45, which equates to a US size 12. So this is saying a bigger Euro size to create a smaller American size, and that is just not consistent with any product I have bought. I have been tried and true a US 12, a Euro 45. So when I bought that first boot, I initially got it in a Euro 45, and they had it listed as a US 10.5, which of course was way too tight. And with those boots being way too small, I obviously had to do a return. And these boots came to me from a company called FC Moto in Germany because of all the American distributors' lack of inventory for Gaerne. It appeared that the companies like Cycle Gear, Revzilla, that big conglomerate, they used to sell a lot of Gaerne stuff because it's listed on their website, but every single product says sold out. And I'm curious if that's because of the cost of importing them, because to get these boots to my house from Germany and FC Moto, it was a $28 shipping charge. But then when I went to try to return them, I went to just the local FedEx, and the price they quoted me to ship them back to FC Moto was $660 for a boot that cost about $300. And then they gave me the warning that because the boots were valued at less than the shipping cost, it would look fishy to customs, and customs would likely get it and reject the package and send it back. There's no point in shipping a thing for return for less money than it costs to ship. That looks fishy. So next up, I tried USPS because their prices are generally a little bit lower, and it came out to $102, which a whole lot better than $660, but still not great considering the product itself was $300. That's basically giving 30% up to send them back. I then had to pay about $30-ish to get the new boots to me, so all in about $160 in shipping charges to end up with a $180 boot.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
It about doubled itself in cost because of the rigmarole of the first boots and the first sizing chart being so far off. Nowhere on the internet, whether it was other German shoe brands that I know about, whether it was other Italian motorcycle manufacturers like Gaerne, I never found a sizing chart that matched the same conversion that Gaerne was saying. For every brand I looked at, I was either a size 45 or a size 45.5 to get that US 12. Nowhere did I see a Euro 46 equaling a US 11. In their sizing chart, this boot that you guys just saw had a little bit of extra room above my toes, was still too small for me. To get my US 12, I should have bought this boot in a 47, which of course would be way too long. It might get me more width, but that'd be because I have a whole bunch of shoe in front of my toes. Just not right. Their sizing is off. They need to work on it. So, in conclusion, is this Gaerne boot absolutely perfect for me? No. But does an absolutely perfect boot exist? Also probably no. This one gets pretty close though. I'm getting some decent comfort, I'm getting some waterproofing, and I'm getting some decent safety. So for me, that is a win. I would like for it to have a little bit more width in that forefoot, in that toe box. I'd like more room to kind of splay out. But I don't know that we're gonna get that until more of us prioritize that. Shoe companies have been making shoes that are way too narrow for the human foot for a really long time, and in running it took people asking for something wider, saying that they were having issues, and kind of pushing that and pushing that and pushing that to drive the manufacturing. Consumers drive that manufacturing, so we also have to do that with our motorcycle riding boots. If they're selling lots of narrow boots, they're going to keep making lots of narrow boots. But if a bunch of us return boots and say reason for return is that toe box is way too narrow, that's going to get back to the companies and they're going to start expanding things, and we're going to start seeing more comfort. If you have an issue with the product, let that manufacturer know. Don't just accept it, or don't just like return it with no comment. Let them know so that they can change that product to better fit the consumer and hopefully lead to us getting things that are actually healthy for our feet. But like I said, this one is pretty close, so I'm going to keep it. Also, it is a bit of a nightmare, as we talked about, to return to this company, so I'm going to keep them for that. If I were to return these ones, I'd likely be out another $100-ish, putting me at a total of $260-ish bucks in shipping stuff to end up with nothing. So that's not going to happen. I think this one's close enough, so I'm going to keep it. But I appreciate you coming on this long journey with me. I appreciate you looking at my feet way too much. But if you liked it, hit thumbs up. If you haven't yet, subscribe, and go have a happy day with comfortable shoes on. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.